Let's swing back around to the budget a little bit. Executive Constantine, can you talk, I guess, to employees about what they can do individually, because sometimes it seems like these budget decisions are made over at Dwight's office, that the budget analysts and Dwight and the folks in the finance office for the various departments are the ones who are kind of pulling the levers and making the decisions. For somebody who doesn't have a fancy title behind their name and are wondering what impact can I have on the on the budget or our finances or any of that, what would you recommend for them?
Well, I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it comes back to the individual employee's experience and their ability to innovate and to elevate those new ideas so that they can be implemented. An employee who's been working here for 3 or 5 or 20 years will undoubtedly have identified some ways in which we could be more efficient. And by being more efficient, I mean save time in delivering services. Any time we save is money saved. Any money saved means that we can provide more of that service, because I'm pretty sure there's hardly any part of the government where we are saturating the market and providing all the service that could be provided. That is not our constraint. Demand is not our constraint. Secondly, it's really important for us to understand, for our employees to understand these structural issues that Dwight's talking about. Our revenue structure is antiquated, it's narrow. In the general fund, it relies too heavily on the property tax. And the financial situation is not going to improve. I mean, economically, these are the best of times. And we have a $50 million biennial deficit in the general fund. And when things get bad, it will be much worse. We need our state legislature to act. Cities and counties in the state are creatures of the state. And they decide what our revenue sources are, what our revenue authorities are. And they need to provide us, first of all, they need to stop shifting responsibility from the state to the counties and the cities, which is a neat budget balancing trick that the federal government did to the state. So they learned from the best.
Passing it along.
Yes. But second, they need to provide us the revenue authorities that cities have for providing for their residents, so that we can provide for what's effectively the second largest city in the county, which is unincorporated King County.
When you say provide the same thing, so there are taxes and fees and things that cities can put in place that we just are not allowed to do by the state.
We don't have local area utility tax authority. Every city has utility tax authority. We don't have B&O tax authority. It wouldn't do us much good because there's not a lot of business left in the unincorporated area following our good work on growth management, not a lot of big revenue generating business. But it is critical that we be able to do those basic things like provide enough police protection. And the tax structure now, leaving aside our roads, which is a problem I'll talk about in a second. The tax structure we have now, spread across that vast geography, just does not allow us to do the things that we ought to do. Not bringing things up to urban levels of service, but providing the safety, the health, the mobility that people in the unincorporated area need. Third, regional fund sources. There are a lot of things that we have to fund out of what is essentially our local money that are for all the 2 million people in King County, and in some cases well beyond the county's borders. That courthouse over there, Dwight could talk about the REIT for a while if you wanted, but let's talk about roads. Some of the roads are just very clearly local, but a lot of the roads that run through unincorporated King County are regional roads. They're being used by people going between cities, coming from other counties. It's an awful lot of people using an awful lot of road that's being paid for by not very many remaining unincorporated residents. We don't have a tax structure that's consistent with the Growth Management Act and the governance structure that we have now, and that has to change. That has to change. The legislature has to give us regional fund sources to pay for regional services that we provide, including public health.
Okay. Labor is also a big part of how we can continue.
Well, a lot of our employees, the vast majority are members of labor organizations. And in this, we are, I think, of one mind and need to speak with one voice in the state capitol. We need to tell our legislators that that this situation is not tenable, that it can't continue. The one Dwight described, the one I described with roads, many of these ways in which we were able to run things just fine 50 years ago don't work anymore. A lot of that's because we've changed the way we draw boundaries. A lot of areas that used to generate tax are now inside cities. But this is not okay. We are able to deliver a lot of service for the money we have. When we're given adequate resources, we can deliver better than just about anybody anywhere. But we are having less and less and less and less every year, and it is not sustainable. It is simply not sustainable. Collectively, we need to join together and make them fix it.